Language awareness. After completing our discussion of the significance of the first language of the learners, which is clearly established under the socio-cultural theory of learning, we now move on to explore the value of the first language or the role of the first language of the learners under the pedagogical theory of language awareness. Now, language awareness is a teaching theory that talks about the success or the failure of certain teaching mechanisms that might be at work at classrooms and from where we can learn. So, LA, as we call the language awareness theory, is a pedagogical theory. However, it should be seen as complementary to communicative language teaching and not in competition with it. So when we are talking about it, as I mentioned when we were discussing the socio-cultural theory, that we emphasize the role of L1 in L2 learning. But this does not mean that all your classrooms should completely use Urdu when teaching English. So communicative language teaching, that is, using techniques in teaching in which the learners have the space to use language, English language, if they are learning English as a second language, is highly important. That there is a conversation or dialogue in the language. However, it is argued by the language awareness pedagogical theory that only communicative methodology might not be enough to enable the learners to achieve target-like proficiency in second language. So what language awareness pedagogical theory does is that it sees a connection and interface between the first language and the second language. It emphasizes the value of the learner's background, and that background includes the first language that the learners bring in their classrooms. They see that the learner's knowledge or the first language that they bring to the classrooms can be equated to capital. So these are his or her assets. In any case, the children need to bring it in the classrooms. They can't possibly shed it off, like they can't shed off their social identity. But language awareness adds value or ascribes value to these social assets. Language awareness emphasizes that we need to develop learners' sensitivity towards language, both the first language and the second language. The learners need to see how the languages actually work within society, how the languages are used to achieve certain functions, to manipulate others, to get what you want, and sometimes why do this all fails. So we need to understand how languages, whatever language it might be, how does it work within society, and how could we possibly use it properly and intelligently. Language awareness pedagogy argues that this significance or understanding of how language works in society is exceptionally important, because if that understanding or that significance or that sensitivity is not carried on or picked up by the students, then the learning is reduced to mere acquisition of alien codes. So they know something just simply They don't know what it means or what the function of that structure is. It's almost like then the learning of an alien language. And as we witness our second language learners, this is actually what happens. Most of the times, the language or the second language they learn remains alien to them.